Okay, so I'm joined today by Andrew Nicholls, who is the founder and CEO of EyeSpy360. Hi, Andrew. How are you
Hi,
doing?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Very good, thanks.
Good.
What we're looking at right here is something that's really interesting, something that you and I have wanted to get out there for a while, and we're close to doing
Yeah.
so. We have collaborated on a report into the spread of virtual tours around the world on real estate portals around the world. And this, what everyone's looking at on screen here, is the kind of most important of the graphs on that report.
Yeah.
What's it showing us?
Very simply, that there is a growth in the percentage of listings that have a virtual tour. That's the bottom line. We've been monitoring this and recording it for probably coming up to about a year and a half now. And that's across circa around 56 different portals around the world. Obviously, there's a lot more than that, but we've been looking at the major ones. And it's mimicking what we are hearing from our customer base, and the customer base being agents, brokerages globally in over 70 odd countries, but also from conversations that we're having with customers, i.e., people looking for properties, renting, buying, etc. as well, is that they prefer virtual tours. They're putting pressure on their agents to say, I want a virtual tour. If they're selling, buyers prefer virtual tours. Just very simply provides them more information, visual information, that they can utilize and leverage to make an informed decision. And what we're seeing is that slow increase now. It's picking up pace. You can see probably from May 2021 through to kind of February, there was growth, but it was static. But what we are seeing now, kind of post-pandemic, is that it's really increasing at a rapid rate, and we're hearing that for a number of people right now.
Yeah, I've got to say, so I didn't collect this data. I'm just the person who made some of these graphs. The data you guys collected is really impressive. It's 18 months worth of data. It's something like 50 portals around the world, 51 portals around the world. And when I built this graph, I was surprised. I thought it was an anomaly. I had to look into the data again. And by the way, when this comes out, I encourage everyone to do this. You can have a look at other metrics on it. You can download the data. It's not an anomaly. That's the number of listings behind it as well. It really does pick up a lot around kind of this summer. It's picked up hugely, hasn't it?
Yeah, hugely. I think for a number of different reasons, we're seeing pick up. I think certain territories, especially the States and Asia, they're picking up with PropTech generally anyway. But I think it's just, one thing we've identified as well, why I think that we're seeing that marked increase right now, is the cost of living, gas prices, etc. And for people traveling, it's costly. If you're looking at a property, renting or buying, there's multiple journeys, and I think people are trying to reduce that as much as possible and add that level of filter, and that's what virtual tours does. And I think we're seeing that increase because of just current world events.
Yeah. The other thing that I really noticed when looking through all of your data is that there are certain markets out there that have really embraced virtual tours, and there are a lot
Yeah.
of markets that really haven't. And there's an interesting lack of correlation between kind of what you would expect. You would expect some of the richer markets to have embraced them, and some of the less advanced markets, let's say, to not have embraced them. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily seem to be the case from what I can see. I mean, Singapore, Poland, Brazil, Finland, Japan, these aren't real estate markets that have an awful lot in common, but they seem to be kind of almost at random the ones that have fully embraced it.
I think there's listen, there's a lot of reasons behind this, and some of them are assumptive as well from my perspective, and some of them are factual. But I think if you kind of look at a theme behind a lot of them, there seem to be countries that are technologically advanced, not necessarily within property, that are just used to using technology. I think where you've got poor infrastructure networks and transportation networks as well, you're seeing probably a marked increase in virtual tours because it's more difficult to go around. And again, a lot of this is about just providing that extra filter, that extra information that a virtual tour provides. I've used this analogy before, but if a picture paints 1,000 words, a virtual tour paints 1,000,000, and that million bits of information is hugely relevant for consumers. And I think you're seeing that from a geographical perspective. As I said, poor infrastructure, poor transportation, weather conditions. Also looking at the size of the geographies, where you've got larger geographies and it's longer to get to if you don't want to travel an hour and a half to go and see a property, but you've got the ability to do that via a virtual tour. And I think we're seeing that to some extent in some of this data.
Another thing that was kind of interesting for me, and we'll see this here, this is the map of the world. Obviously some interesting data here. On average, the number of listings with virtual tours of all of the property portals that you measured, 10% now, 1 in 10 listings now has a virtual tour. That in itself, to me, is quite a big deal. And the other kind of big deal here is that there are all these countries in blank. And the reason they're in blank is that you guys couldn't measure them because they don't have a filter. So you got Australia, the UK, Sweden, these big kind of important markets with big important real estate portals where we just don't know.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, there's some there that just don't have the ability to filter. I mean, fundamentally, that's what we're using to garner this information. There's various reasons, I believe, why some of them don't have filters right now. I think a lot of it's to do with their kind of commercial proposition to their customer base. But I'm pretty confident that over time you're going to see these filters added to more portals, and hopefully we should be able to widen and broaden our ability to gain that data and just get a better snapshot globally.
Okay, Andrew, I've got to say, I really love this data. I'm really excited to share it with people. I think it's going to generate an awful lot of interest and hopefully some debate as well. Thanks for talking to us.
Pleasure.
When this comes out, I'm sure you'll get people getting in touch.
Great, looking forward to it. Really just, want to share this data with people. We think it's really interesting. It's we get asked every single day what's going on out there, and hopefully this is just a snapshot, some exposure to what's going on with virtual tours and usage globally.